well?
Yeah. All right, guys. Welcome back to the second segment here for the podcast episode of RJ Talks. So, we finished talking about the AFC South, Jose, and now let's move up. We're going to go to the AFC North, which, in my opinion, in this year, Jose, it's going to be the most competitive division in football. Usually the AFC North is, but because each team seems to have some strength in reloading. So, as far as how I see these team going from fourth place to third place, this is tough, but these teams are going to beat up on each other, so the records might not be that pretty. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers in fourth place. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers just because, and as far as quarterbacks goes, people are really high on Kenny Pickett right now, but I still think they're forgetting who Deshaun Watson was and who Deshaun Watson still is. I still think Deshaun Watson, a lesser version of him right now, is still better than Kenny Pickett right now. So for that reason, I got the Steelers going down because just the inexperience at quarterback and T.J. Watt. He's very inconsistent, dude. It's shown that he's gonna miss some games. He's not gonna be out full season. Everyone says, well, if T.J. Watt's healthy all year, then we're gonna be like a contender. Yeah, but he just kind of like his brother. He has that injury bug right now. That's like affecting him to come into some games. They're always good at the wide receiver position. However, their defense plays tough. But when it comes down to the tough competition, Jose, when each team is going to be at their best, I just don't see them moving that forward. And I feel bad saying this because I love the head coach, but I think Mike Tomlin is going to have his first losing season this year. I think it's going to be one of those games, and I think it's going to be probably optimistic 8-9. Potentially 7-10, depending on how bad they play, but I see optimistically 8-9 in fourth place.
Yeah, Ricardo, we haven't really been. We've been pretty vocal about what we think of Kenny Pickett, right? Even before he got drafted, right? In this past season, he didn't really do much to disprove us, right? So we're still betting on the fact that Kenny Pickett's still going to play like Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Right. On top of that as well, the Pittsburgh defense, like you said, they play tough, but they aren't skilled as a unit, right? They remind me very much of say, like the Detroit Lions before last season and the season before that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they played really tough, but they just weren't very organized at all, right? As far as T.J. Watt goes, Ricardo, he is pretty inconsistent, not in terms of his talent, not in terms of his skill. We know that he's that he's an incredible football player. He just can't stop getting injured. It's like Christian McCaffrey with the Carolina Panthers, and a lot of people were saying things like, "Oh, if we had Christian McCaffrey, as soon as he plays, he's good to go. Like he's going to be taking that team to the next level." Okay, I have two problems with that. I have two problems with that assumption. Number one is not a single team, not one player can carry a team, especially in football.
Mm-hmm.
It is a team-oriented sport, and we have said that time and time again on this podcast. Number two, right? T.J. Watt is getting injured as much as he does is not always going to be in the game, right? And since he's not always going to be in the game, that unit is not going to perform as well, right? And as great as T.J. Watt is, we can't rely on him all of the time.
Yes.
So the two main points here, Ricardo, is that you need to score points as well as also stop points from being scored. It's a two-way street, right? And that sounds like the most obvious thing, but it is something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right? It's something that needs to happen. You know, you can't just be good at one thing. You can't be good on one side of the ball because say the defense continues to perform, Ricardo, and the offense doesn't, the defense is going to be spending more time on the field than the offense.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is going to contribute to fatigue, right? The more tired one side of the ball is, right, the less they're going to be performing throughout the game and throughout the season. So, as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers go, especially with the contest that's happening throughout this division, I don't hesitate to put them in dead last either, Ricardo. I think it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be optimistic in like 8 and 9. All right, I see them winning 7, maybe 8 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So moving on to number 3, Ricardo, I think you and I can agree that Cleveland is going to be sitting at a solid number 3.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? Deshaun Watson is not who he once was, simply because he sat out for an entire season, and last season he was suspended for the majority of the season. He did come back and he showed us some glimpses of what he could be and what he used to be, but he's going to be in full season form going into here. Deshaun Watson is still a much better quarterback than, say, Kenny Pickett is, and a much better quarterback than Mitchell Trubisky, for crying out loud, right? So, and not to mention, Ricardo, that defense is just absolutely solid. The fact that Kevin Stefanski is still the head coach for that team, they have continuity. They have consistency. And because they have that consistency, much more so than what the Pittsburgh Steelers do, they're going to continue to perform. Their missing piece was that quarterback position, and I think that quarterback position will continue to be fulfilled with Deshaun Watson at the helm.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree. Deshaun Watson's not who he once was. We're talking positive about the Cleveland Browns and like things going like, if everything's so positive, like why do we have them at third place? It's because of the teams ahead of them. And because of the teams ahead of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's levels to it, okay? The Cleveland Browns are good, on the verge of being great. Maybe if they pick it together and become the best versions of themselves. But the best versions of themselves don't beat the top 2 teams that I see going up ahead of them. It's just, what's the best way to describe it, Jose? Because I feel like I'm very, very broad here. They're good for that division, but they're not they're not great to pick as a contender for the AFC. They're not a contender yet. They still have to prove it to us this season. And if they do prove it to us, we're here on this show. We always love to admit when we're wrong because we own up to it. We admit when we're wrong all the time. So until they prove it, I don't see them as a contender. I see them as a wild card team at the most. But that AFC is so competitive, I don't even know if they're going to make it because it's just going to be really tough to do. And Jose, this is where I'm torn because like these teams are going to have to beat up on each other. So I would love to say they would be 10-7, but I can see them going 9-8. 9-8.
Yeah,
9-8 because it's going to be that close.
Ricardo, I was thinking that exact same thing. Is just because number one, the division is so competitive, and number two, the Cleveland Browns are the team that they are with Deshaun Watson at the helm, and all the other teams. We have to look at the big picture here. Yeah. The big picture is that division as a whole. Right, and the Cleveland Browns, as good as we think that they are, and as good as they are, right, not just as we think they are, as good as they are, man, I mean, this is another division where not one team is going to sweep the other.
Yeah,
and that's really what I think. Not one team is going to sweep the other, and maybe, I mean, 9-8.
Yeah, 9-8.
I'm going to call it as that. 9-8, and Cleveland's a great team. They have been a great team for a good amount of time since 2016. Since 2016, this is the team that I have the most respect for because this team since 2016, they have built themselves up to a force, and it's been fantastic. Unfortunately for them, the rest of the division has done that too.
Yeah.
Right? Now, moving on from Cleveland, these top 2 spots are going to be tough, Ricardo, and they could change. They could change a lot. But as far as consistency goes, and as far as how good this one particular team has been, I'm putting them at number 2, and I hesitate to put them at number 2, but I'm still going to put them at number 2. Baltimore.
Okay.
I think Baltimore is going to be number 2.
Okay.
The reason why I'm putting Baltimore at number 2 is because their defense is not what they once were.
Bingo.
I think they're going to have a lot of trouble stopping points from being scored. As far as them scoring points on other people, no trouble. I really don't think they're going to have a whole lot of trouble scoring points on other teams. Right? We're going back and saying it's the defense that's really going to struggle for that team.
You must have read my mind, Jose, because that's exactly what I was going to say down to the T. The only difference I could add to this, as far as record-wise, 10-7. because it's going to be close. I don't see
Yep.
either one pulling away too far away from 500, but it's going to be 10-7 with Baltimore, and that's a close 10-7. I think it's going to come out to like a tiebreaker or something like that. Like whoever like beat a team that beat them or something like that. Like that's just how close it's going to be, and that's the only reason I'm having second place. But postseason, Baltimore, in my opinion, they're going to be one of the 3 wild card teams. Now, as far as
for sure.
As far as for the division champ, I mean, we've gotten on and on about Cincinnati. I don't think there's much more we could talk about. The reason why I'm a little concerned, though, is that Joe Burrow-like injury that he has to go hold up against. However, I think they'll stay afloat. Maybe 1 or 2 games they'll sit out, if anything, if that calf is still bothering him. But they're going to be the most complete team. However, they did lose their pieces in the secondary. They lost Jesse Bates III. They lost a couple other corners. That's the reason why they're not going to have a better record this year as opposed to next year. And they do have a tendency to start off slow, but no doubt Joey Burrow runs this division. Enough said.
There's not a question. There's not a question that Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in this league right now. Top 3 for sure. Top 3 for sure. There's no doubt about it. Right now, I'm also kind of torn too. I think they're going to be, I think they're good. I truly think that it's going to be like 11-6, but
I'm leaning towards 10-7. Honestly,
at the most, that's what I said. Yeah, exactly. So I think at the most they'll win 11 games.
Yeah.
Right. Realistically, I think it'll be 10 wins because number 1, that division is so competitive, and number 2, they lost a lot of their key players. Right. Samaje Perine as well. They did lose Samaje.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a hit. That is a hit because Ricardo, I kept raving about how Samaje Perine played this past season. I mean, that guy, holy crap, that guy's a monster guy. So I think because of that team is going to continue to show us how good that they are, but they aren't going to improve just yet to the level that everybody else expects them to be.
Absolutely. Now, Jose, let's move on to these next 2 divisions that we have to get through. I mean, unfortunately, they're the duds of the NFL, so but we have to talk about them because we can probably go quickly about this. Let's go ahead and talk about it, Jose. It's going to be the NFC South. So the NFC South, the one bright, shining spot that I see on this the division, Jose, is a team that's going to be in first place, but I'll get to that in a second. So the team I see in last place right now, the team I see with no hope, well, not no hope, but like not that much to look forward to, it's got to be Atlanta, dude. What do you have at quarterback back there? Defense is looking not optimistic. Not too much excitement offensively. I mean, you got Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but that's it. So safe to say, Jose, to be sure, I say probably 4-13. 5-12 at the most.
Yeah, four wins.
Yeah.
4 wins. Yeah, and I think 4 wins is a solid guess. As far as Ricardo, yeah, like you said, Kyle Pitts and Drake London, they're good, right? They're good additions to the team, but they are nowhere close to the heads of the snake, right? They're foot soldiers.
Bijan Robinson, 2 out of college, I think is going to be great as well, but not enough to change the winning of this team.
Absolutely not. They're not even close to being up there with the quarterback, with the head coach. They just aren't, not even the head coach, but I mean, just like, they aren't key players, right? And it's unfortunate to say that, but it's true. That's not taking anything away from their talent. That's not taking anything away from their skill. They are great players, right? Or even, like, just really good players. But they're not going to make a difference because they aren't that high on the totem pole. Let's just be real. So I agree that the Atlanta Falcons, Ricardo, at my first instinct, as soon as looking at them, as soon as I saw this division, was putting Carolina last. But I think because of the position that the Atlanta Falcons are in, as far as their players and as far as their structure goes, they're going to be last.
Absolutely, and you
I am confident in saying that.
yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, and I think you led off perfectly to the next topic. Bryce Young, I think, is going to win more games for the Panthers than Atlanta's going to win.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
the only reason I have him at third place, but I don't see him by much. I see them probably 6-11, looking good at 6-11. If all thing goes right for them, optimistic maybe 7, but more realistically winning 6 games. They still have some holes on that team. They were a top 10 pick in the draft for a reason. However, they do have more options on the offense with a quarterback that has more potential. But that offensive line, man, it's just, I mean, we saw it throughout the preseason. They were just god-awful. So that's the reason they're not going to win that many games, and that defense is mediocre at best. I'm being nice here, if they're even mediocre. So that's why I have them at third place, and I'm sure you agree with me there.
Yeah, there's really not much more for me to add. I agree with everything. So let's move on to number 2.
I think we both agree here at Tampa Bay.
Okay, Ricardo. Okay, first of all, an elephant in the room, right? Going from Tom Brady.
Go right ahead.
Mayfield. What else is there to be said? What else is there to be said? Ricardo, the practice footage. Oh my goodness, the practice footage. that in and of itself told me everything. Told me everything that I needed to know for Baker Mayfield, as far as Baker Mayfield's position goes. Ricardo, I don't know why the NFL continues to put faith in Baker Mayfield. I don't get it. And quite frankly, I am pretty frustrated about it. Quite frankly, I'm so frustrated about it now. I'm just completely over it. I'm completely over it. Baker Mayfield is not going to be the answer for any team in this NFL, in this league whatsoever. Baker Mayfield's done. He's already shown us who he is, right? Being picked up by Cleveland, being picked up by LA, he's done nothing. I think he's the quarterback that has frustrated me more than any other quarterback in history that I've seen.
Let's wait for Russell Wilson,
because Russell. Okay, yeah, I know. But what's funny about Russell Wilson is that he has shown us signs. He has shown us signs that he's been good. But even then, it's because of the system around him, right? But the fact of the matter, he's moved from one team to another, and now this second team is realizing who he is. Ricardo, it seems like every team that Baker Mayfield goes to, it's like, oh, he's gonna make some kind of difference for this team. I'm like, are you people delusional? What is happening? What is going on? Oh yeah, and then Tampa Bay decides to pick him up after they just had the standard that Tom Brady has set for him. These guys went to a Super Bowl and they freaking won it as soon as they picked him up, and then now they're putting all their chips in the pot for Baker Mayfield to be a starter, to be a starting quarterback. Ricardo, I don't get it. That's the thing that frustrates me more than Russell Wilson. That's the thing that frustrates me more. Is that who do you think is going to pick up Russell Wilson as soon as Denver lets him go? Nobody. No.
Okay.
But Baker Mayfield gets a second and a third chance. For what reason?
I can't top that any more than you did, Jose. I'm just gonna go with my record here. I'd say probably 8-9, most realistically.
8-9, yeah. I would say that too. Now, we have to give credit where credit is due. Tampa Bay does have a solid receiver core in Mike Evans, and as consistent as I forget his name. Shoot. Receiver.
Chris Godwin.
Catches the really easy. What was that?
Chris Godwin.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Chris Godwin. Exactly. So as inconsistent as he is, he still makes plays when he needs to. So that's why I'm really betting on their receiving core and make it easier for Baker Mayfield, and that's why I'm setting him at 8-9, optimistically 9.
Yeah.
9 games winning.
Yeah, and I got respect for Todd Bowles still, like as far as like defensive game plans and all that,
right.
as a proven coach. So that's the reason I have made it 9 as opposed to like 7 or 6 games. Like I think they'll show some backbone and like get close to 500. Like you said, maybe 9 games, but that's about it. Like, I'm not. Maybe they get a wild card spot. We'll see. Depends on the rest of the NFL goes. But probably not. Now, the team that's most exciting in this division, Jose, it's got to be the New Orleans Saints. I mean,
100%.
Year after year, if not top 10, top 12 defense, which is still like on the a good to solid defense. They at least have a solid defense. They got Chris Olave looking good. I forget what other rookie wide receiver that they drafted, but I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air for Derek Carr. They still have Alvin Kamara on the team. And Michael Thomas is still on the team, whatever that's worth as a veteran guy. I'd say they're looking good, and I think they're probably going to win 10 games. Probably win 10 games to be a good wild card team, a good division team. Sorry.
Wow, yeah, you just reminded me of a lot of these key players that they had on their team. So now that you're mentioning it out loud, Ricardo, I go, wow, this team is actually kind of stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It seems actually kind of stacked. So, and with the position that Derek Carr is in, he's not an awful quarterback.
Yes.
Right. He's a better quarterback than Jameis Winston, and we've already seen that. All right. I think personally, Derek Carr just overstayed his welcome in Vegas.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I think Derek Carr really just overstayed his welcome in Vegas, and I think this will be a good change of pace for him. I firmly believe, Ricardo, that they're going to win at most 10 games, right? I think at the very least 9. That's really where I'm going to put them. So with that being said, the New Orleans Saints are the easy winners of this division, for sure. They're the most complete team. They're the team with the most consistency, easily out of all the other teams in this division, and that is why we're putting them at number 1.
Yeah. Let's move on to the last 2 divisions in this team. The team with the contenders in my opinion. But we'll start off with the teams that are worthless in the first division in the NFC West, other than maybe 1 or 2 teams. I mean, we already know who's going 4th place, who's going to be first pick in the draft. It's those worthless Arizona Cardinals that just released Colt McCoy for whatever good reason. And Jose, here's the funny part. Here's the best part about the whole thing. They're going to tank for Caleb Williams, who I think is going to be a bust. I don't think he's going to do jack in the NFL. I think he just gets lucky with the system that he's in. So they're going to get another USC quarterback almost 12 years later. No, excuse me, 18 years later when they got Matt Leinart. Everybody remember that? A USC quarterback who was Heisman Trophy winner. It's going to be the exact same thing if they get Caleb Williams. And I think this team is going to be lucky to win 4 games. They're going to win 3 games at most, maybe 2.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I'm glad we agree on that.
Go ahead, Jose. Go ahead.
Oh, my goodness. Ricardo, oh, my God. Where do we start? Where do we start with this team? Like, this is the first team that we can say is inside and out awful. Inside and out terrible. Like, the players of this team are the ones that are bashing on this team. Right. They're the ones that have to pay for lunch. What players would have to pay for their own freaking lunch? Oh, my goodness.
It's fine. I already told my household's not watching a single goddamn game. I told my families don't watch a single goddamn game. They're trying to get that quarterback out of USC, and then it's going to be even worse. That's the funny part. It's going to be even worse, so it's going to be another 3 years of sadness.
Ricardo, by far, worst team in the NFL. By far, worst team in the NFL. And no question, they're going to win 3 games. They're going to win 3 games out of this entire league. That team, from top to bottom, is absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. There's no doubt about it anymore.
Yeah. So let's move on to teams that are worth our time. Maybe not even as far. Here's where I think it's going to surprise a lot of people as far as the picks, how it's going to go. I got Seattle in 3rd place. I think a lot.
So do I.
I think a lot of.
Yep.
I think a lot of it was a flash in the pan and an easy, unexpected run by Geno Smith. Geno Smith has shown us who he is in his career, and he's had that one good season of being a consistent starting quarterback in the NFL. And Jose, in the last half of the season, Seattle was a different team. They weren't as hot and fire as they were to start off the year. I think it was after that Tampa Bay game that people started to realize their weaknesses and who they really are. And the fact that Brock Purdy beat them twice on the road, one in regular season and one playoff game at home, it's just...
Yeah.
it's a lot of hot flash and pan, and I think it's going to go into a toll because their team can't stop a run. They can't tackle. They can't tackle when it comes to stopping the run. Geno Smith is who he is at this point. They're going to be that same team that they were last year. As much as people love DK Metcalf, you can't do it as a receiver. I saw my favorite receiver in my lifetime, Larry Fitzgerald, greatest ever, like my favorite, can't do anything if you don't have a quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback and you gotta have a good team to surround it, I think as far as games, probably because it's Pete Carroll and there's some respect for him, I'd say 7 games. I'm not leaning towards 8 because I think they're going to get exposed for who they are because they're going to get beat by the next 2 teams on this division. So probably 7 games, maybe 6, in my opinion. They'll win.
There's not, Ricardo, I had them at 7. I have them solidly at 7. I don't think they're going to go to 8. I don't think they're bad enough to just win 6 games either. That's just me, though.
Yeah.
Right? I 100% agree with you that Geno Smith had a great season this last year, but it's not going to last. It's not going to last at all. And, Ricardo, the big picture being this team as a whole is not as good as the Rams and not nearly as good as the Niners. They're night and day between those 2 teams. So as far as the Seattle Seahawks goes, because they aren't as complete of a team as the top 2, and because of the inconsistency that's been shown by Geno Smith, and as well as the rest of the team, it's not going to happen. Pete Carroll, we have to put respect on Pete Carroll's name. He has done a lot for the Seattle Seahawks going up until now, right? And DK Metcalf has shown himself to be a better technical player, but it seems as though his inherent talent is still outshining that technical ability. Is he going to continue to get better as a wide receiver? Maybe. I can't really tell at this point, and I'm not going to continue to predict that. But once again, Ricardo, and I'm going to repeat myself until I'm blue in the face, it's not one person that's going to carry this team, or any NFL team for that matter. So as far as the team goes, I think they're solidly at 3rd place. It's Ricardo, I think it's an easy pick, the Rams.
Yes.
I think the Rams are in 2nd place for sure. Matt Stafford being back, but his status being questionable still, is really what's going to affect this team. Right? We still have the head coach. We still have the rest of the team that we need to acknowledge, and that offensive line is hopefully going to be healthy for the remainder of the season. Because of that, and because of losing Jalen Ramsey, which I think Ricardo is fine because he's overrated, in my opinion. I think Jalen Ramsey's overrated.
Yeah.
But as far as the rest of the team goes, they haven't lost that many key players, and they've continued to improve up until this point. That's why I'm putting them at a solid number 2. As far as their record goes, Ricardo, I think at most they're going to win 9 games.
I agree, especially with the record part. And they still have Aaron Donald. Donald in the center of the team. I think Bobby Wagner's going to have a better year than he did the year before. And it's just, that's the worst I've ever seen LA under the McVay era. I don't see them being the same or any worse this year. They have to bounce back, in my opinion. There's no way that McVay is going to let him go and Aaron Donald's going to let that fly by. It's a Super Bowl hangover. It happens to all the teams in the league. They got injured at the wrong places at the wrong time, and they're going to address those issues just like they should. Agree with you right there. Now let's talk about the beast in this division. And in my opinion, Jose, the team most likely to go all the way in this conference, that San Francisco 49ers team, no question, the most complete team from top to bottom when you go position by position by position, as far as with any team in the NFL. The old quarterback, nobody has Mahomes, and we'll get to him in just a bit. That's the only reason they're not the outright favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. I think, Jose, I don't think Brock Purdy is going to be that great for them to get a deep playoff run, but I don't think they're going to put him in a position to mess it up. That makes sense?
Right.
So I think
that makes a perfect amount of sense. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, I think Kyle Shanahan is going to try to protect him more, running the football protection wise, make it as easy as possible for him. And when you have those teams right there, it's very easy to do it. So I think, Jose, they're going to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, I think they're going to probably win 13 games, in my opinion. I don't see them doing worse. I think they're gonna. This might be the year that they finally break through. Whether they win it or not, we'll see. But I think they're gonna be the representative in the NFC side.
The NFC favorites to go to the Super Bowl. That's not a bold prediction, Ricardo. That's not a very bold prediction. They showed us who they were with one of their backup quarterbacks. They showed us who they were last season, and my goodness, they did not disappoint at all. At all. Had it not been for the injuries that they had in the middle of that conference championship game, wow, Ricardo, they could have gone all the way.
Yeah.
They could have pulled a Philly for Super Bowl 52.
Oh yeah.
Right, when Nick Foles took them all the way, and then they won that Super Bowl. They could have done that.
They could have won up them with the third stringer.
Exactly. We had no doubt. We had no doubt. Now, injury-wise, that's really the thing that did set them back. In that conference championship game, and on top of that too, Philly just came to play. They really did. As far as this next season, they're not going to let that happen again.
No.
So as far as that complete season goes, and they did shed some dead weight. That dead weight being Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance,
yep.
Unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately, that was the dead weight in that quarterback position. They're putting all of their faith in Brock Purdy, as they should. Phenomenal quarterback. He's shown us who he is. I personally do think as well that they're going to go all the way, as far as the NFC goes. Yeah, I agree with that. As far as their record, I think it's going to be 11 games, maybe even 12.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm putting them. Because it's a less competitive division. They're going to win more divisional games, especially with those bottom two. They're going to annihilate those guys. There's really no doubt about it.
Oh yeah,
for us at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the final.
Last but not least.
Yes.
Yep.
Last but not least, but the division representing the current Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now let's start off from top to bottom, Jose. I think it's very clear. Might not be so clear, honestly. I think we might switch these two teams. I think this is hard. This is very hard. But I have to.
It's tough. Yeah.
But I have to go with who the better head coach is, as far as like completing this team from top to bottom. I think the Raiders might be in last place, going specifically with 6 games, just because of the inconsistency with Jimmy Garoppolo, and I just have no faith in McDaniels as a head coach. That's how I see the Oakland Raiders, and you might have a different team in 4th place, but let me hear it.
No, I agree with you, Ricardo.
Okay.
I think Vegas is going to be in 4th place because number 1, head of the snake is Sean Payton for Denver.
Yeah.
And Sean Payton has shown us who he is, right? No doubt about it. One of the best coordinators in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right now. And I have faith in the fact that he's going to be a phenomenal head coach. And everybody else can really attest to this too, analysts and fans alike. Sean Payton's just a force to be reckoned with. And because of that, and because Denver is just a better team overall than what Vegas is, I think that's the reason why they're going to win a few more games. Russell Wilson, on the other hand, is a complete other story. In the preseason, he's shown us that he's still Russell Wilson. So they're going to have they're going to have some more trouble putting points up. But as far as the Raiders go, I don't think they're going to be a bust, but I still don't think they're going to be better than Denver.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. How many games do you have Denver winning?
I think, let's start with Vegas first in first place. Or, excuse me, not first place, 4th place, right? As far as Vegas in 4th place goes, I think they're going to win maybe like at most 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
I put them at 7 games. That team is just so in flux.